A metal sphere of radius A contains a charge plus Q and is surrounded by an uncharged concentric metallic shell of inner radius B and outer radius C as shown above. Express all algebraic answers in terms of the given quantities and fundamental constants. Part A. Determine the induced charge on each of the following and explain your reasoning in each case. Subpart 1. The inner surface of the metallic shell. So if we think of this in the following way, let's put a Gaussian surface, and we're going to put the Gaussian surface inside the outer shell. That's inside a conductor, so we know that the electric field on that surface is 0. Therefore, the electric flux through the surface is also 0. But the electric flux through the surface is also the enclosed charge over epsilon naught. So that implies the total enclosed charge is 0. If we have plus Q on the inner surface, then we have to have minus Q on the outer surface, because this is Q at distance B plus the original charge. So the charge at surface B has to be minus Q. And then subpart 2 says find the charge on the outer surface of the metallic shell. So we can say, well, if the shell had been uncharged, and it was, so Q on the shell equals 0, but Q on the shell is also the Q at distance B plus the Q at distance C, then the Q at distance C is minus the Q at B, but the Q at B was itself minus the original charge, and so the outer surface has to have the same charge as what's on the inner thing. So it must be plus Q over here. The rubric says you got 1 point for indicating the charge on the inner shell is minus Q, and for 1 point that had a correct explanation with no incorrect statements. And likewise for subpart 2, you got 1 point for it saying that it was plus Q, and another point for an explanation. Part B. Determine expressions for the magnitude of electric field E as a function of R, the distance from the center of the inner sphere, in each of the following regions. Part 1, subpart 1, R less than A. For R less than A, we are inside a conductor. So the electric field is 0. That was easy. For subpart 2, we want between A and R. So if we do a quick picture again, here is our original guy, and then we're talking about in the region between here and here. In other words, we're looking at this empty region. I should be explicit that. So let's just pick that distance and let's do a Gaussian surface. And we would say, well, the electric field, the flux, which is E dot dA through my surface, has to equal the enclosed charge over epsilon. And our enclosed charge, of course, is just plus Q, so over epsilon. So that was easy. And here we know that the electric field dot dA is just EdA. And we also know that by the symmetry, the electric field is constant, so we can bring it outside. And then we can integrate dA to just get 4 pi r squared. So we have E times 4 pi r squared equals Q over epsilon naught, or E is Q over 4 pi epsilon naught r squared, i.e. just the Coulomb field. Which is really not surprising, because by Newtonian shell theorems, we know that the only thing that matters in a spherically symmetric distribution is the charge closer to the center, and it looks as if it were a point charge with all the charge at the center. So we also could have kind of jumped right to that using the shell theorem. For these two parts, part 1 and part 2, you got 1 point for getting E equals 0, and you got 1 point for for the result we got, although we do need some explanation that's reasonable. So part 3 says for the distances between B and C. So we can see that we are here, but that means that we are inside a conductor. So we know the electric field is 0. That was pretty easy. And then for part C, here we are out here, and we might take a Gaussian sphere of that size. So I'm going to do that over here. I'm going to say that the integral of E dot dA is going to be the enclosed charge over epsilon, but the enclosed charge is again just plus Q. And again, the electric field comes outside because it's constant by the symmetry. Which means that the electric field times 4 pi r squared equals Q over epsilon naught. And we get, maybe bizarrely, the same result, which is, again, just the Coulomb result. And what that says is that the sphere, the shell, is basically invisible via the electric field, except if we're measuring in between them. Part C. On the axis below, sketch a graph of E as a function of r. And so we might say, well, if we had just had a point charge, we would have had something like 1 over r squared. 1 over r squared. Still terrible. But we don't have a point charge, so instead we're going to say, well, we know that between A and B it was a 1 over r squared law, and between C and so on it was 1 over r squared law. And I should say here that it is E proportional to 1 over r squared to indicate that, wow, my graphing is not great, but that's what I'm trying to do. But then over here we had 0, and here we had 0. And then I should probably get rid of the bits that I didn't like. So something like that. To get the 4 points, you wanted, you had to indicate that E equals 0. You had to put the line on the axis. You also got that point for the other part where it was 0. And then you got a positive decreasing concave up function with E sub B not equal to 0, or E at B. And likewise, that got you 1 point, and then you got the last point for a positive decreasing concave up function with E sub C less than E sub B. And so they didn't also stress that it was 1 over r squared. They expect you to do a good parabola. So that's nice. And then the last part, part D, says an electron of mass m sub e carrying a charge E is released from rest at a very large distance from the spheres. Derive an expression for the speed of the particle at a distance 10r from the center of the spheres. There's actually a glitch in this question because r is not well defined. R is the free variable. And in fact, even on the rubric, they are clear to say that they had meant 10c. In fact, the rubric reads, note, the intent of the problem was to ask for the speed at a distance of 10c instead of the stated 10r. But very few students did anything other than treat 10r as if we're outside the shell, and that's all we really care about. If we're outside the shell, then by the shell theorems, or by what we just found, where we have, here is our shell, and we're somewhere out here, right, which may be 10c or whatever, not to scale, then it looks like a point charge. And the thing is released from a distance, a very long distance, and ends up here at 10c. And so we can say that the energy is conserved. The first one, well, what does large distance mean in physics? Well, in general, large distance means infinite. So we want r infinity, and then at the place that we're talking about, which I'm just calling E1, this is going to be some kinetic energy at infinity plus potential energy at infinity is the kinetic energy at our location plus potential energy at our location. Some of them are easy. It's released from rest, so the kinetic energy is 0 at the start. And it's released very far away, so the potential energy is 0, which means the total energy is 0, which is kind of weird. And then at this location, we want the speed as it starts to, as it's flying in, and I'm going to call that V1. And so the kinetic energy is 1/2 times the mass of the electron times V1 squared. And then we have to remember the potential energy of point charges, but this is just the Coulomb bit, so it's going to be minus the central charge. It's going to be plus the central charge times the charge on the electron, which is minus E. All right, and we have to be careful because they've been a little goofy with their choice here. The electron charge is really negative, right? E is usually the magnitude of the electric charge, and we'll want that negative at some point. Somewhere along the line, the charge has to be of a negative magnitude. I'm going to say it's explicitly this way. And then we have 4 pi epsilon naught, but just R. All right, and then we can solve it over. So we say, well, if we put all those together, V1 squared is going to be, bring this guy over and then multiply by 2 and divide by m. So 2QE over ME 4 pi epsilon. And then the distance, which I'm going to put in as 10c since that's what they originally intended. And so we have 2 over 40 or 1/20 pi epsilon Q over the mass E over C. And then for completeness, we might as well take the square root. So we have the square root 1 over 20 pi epsilon naught Q times E over ME times C square rooted. A couple of notes from the rubric. They let people leave it as R instead of C, which is fine. So if you had an R instead of a C, you're okay. They also said that if you noted the 10R did not define a definite radius, then you got points awarded as appropriate for attempting a calculation in any region or several regions, or for a clear indication that the solution would be region dependent. So you could really weasel your way out of a lot of stuff on this if you noticed that the 10R was a bad definition. But other than that, it's supposed to be relatively straightforward.